Hi. Harry insists that I'd come to his conferences, and I always tell him why, because um, most people don't understand the meaning of the word mythology, but he loves it, because we are stuck in a 1950s definition of the subject, somewhere, long before independence. The meaning of the word was very different, and in the 21st century, it has a very different meaning. Mythology is about how people think. That's all. It's just a fun way to figure out how people think. So if you want to understand how people think, you have to understand mythology. Democracy is about how people think, and development is also about how people think. So mythology is just that. It's as simple as that. When we use the word reality, what we are really talking about, what happens to our body. Mythology is about what happens to your mind. When you use the word reality, we are really talking about things. Mythology is about thoughts, how you think. So quick 1 minute on what is mythology, little detail. Mythology is the assumptions on the basis of which you conduct your life. So all persons in this room, in this country, the smartest guy on the panel, they all have certain assumptions. And their assumptions makes them passionate and theatrical. But it remains an assumption, which they believe is real. For the outsider, it is just an assumption. So you have religious assumptions, you have secular assumptions, you have tribal assumptions, you have national assumptions, you have international assumptions, you have personal assumptions, organizational assumptions, brand assumptions. All of us have certain assumptions. And these assumptions tell us how the world is, how the world should be, what is my role in society, what my role should be in society. The fact is, no human being is born with a manual. What we have is assumptions. And these assumptions are called myths. It's a very disturbing idea sometimes, because we would like to believe we live in real worlds and our revolutions are real. The sage sits back and watches this because he's seen this before. You see, stories that we hear, like Ramayana, Mahabharata, whether it's the Bible, the Quran, these books, these are the outer layering. If you eat an eclair chocolate, there's an outer caramel, and inside that there is a little nice chocolate inside that. These stories reveal the inside chocolate. They are the outer kernel through which you understand the mind of man. So essentially in the world, there are 4 dominant ways of thinking. I'm simplifying it for the sake of the audience. Broadly, there is the Greek way of thinking. So whenever somebody uses words like hero, villain, victim, chaos, these are words, you'll say, ye Greek mythology se aaya hai. Very popular amongst activists. Then there is the other form of mythology, which is there is God, leadership, follower, heaven. This is biblical mythology, classical biblical mythology. So when people, I belong to the corporate world. I give a lot of leadership workshops. So when you pick up a Peter Drucker, or you pick up any book on leadership, they're essentially following the biblical model. What is a classical Indian mythology would use words like sage, nymph, householder, rebirth. These words are typically found in the Indian subcontinent. And when you go towards China, the words would always be about yin, yang, and harmony. Whenever people use words like harmony, nature, they are really talking a very Chinese way of thinking. Of course, we can't use these words, are just used for functional reasons. All these thoughts exist in all parts of the world. They dominate at different times of history and geography. So that's my basics about mythology. The common mythology that we have is that there is a problem and we have to solve it quickly. We have to implement. Words like implementation will be used. So look at this. This is a story of Alexander. When he entered Asia for the first time, he found a Gordian knot. A Gordian knot is impossible to open up because all the ends are tied and you cannot open the knot. India is something like the Gordian knot. You can't find where the problem is. You can't unravel it. So what did he do? He took a sword and he cut it. And he said, there, I've solved the problem. Now the Gordian knot has been undone. This is called an Alexandrian solution to a Gordian knot. And you find many Alexanders in India. Indian method of thinking would be cause and consequence. For every action, there is a reaction. All implementation come with their own negative consequences and positive consequences. So this is the Demin Rakta Bij. Every time you shoot it, a drop of blood will fall on the ground and a new demon is born. And it keeps multiplying and multiplying until you have the capability of absorbing the blood before it hits the ground. So the goddess is shooting him while another goddess is drinking the blood before it touches the ground. Only then can the demon be killed. Many people talk about action. They don't think about reaction. Everybody is interested in doing something. They don't think about what are the consequences of the action because they've not thought long enough. And unfortunately, when you think long enough, they'll say, oh, you are not implementation, you're not an action person. Tum sirf sochte rehte ho. But the fact is, India is the land of thinkers. Words like nation, development, democracy, fairness, justice, rights, rationality, secularism, freedom, all emerge from European mythology. One day we have to reach there. The Constitution of India is based on a structure which emerges from Europe. Whether it works in India, I don't know. We will figure it out over time. They are not universal concepts. They didn't exist in all parts of the world. They came from a particular... We have decided that this will work for us, and we are figuring it out whether it works for us. But these are also assumptions. None of them are real. They are assumptions. Good assumptions. Noble assumptions. But for a mythologist like me, these are assumptions in history. So let's listen to this in the form of a simple story. So there was once a big guy and a little guy. The big fat guy and a little guy. Now you could also say that one was an intelligent guy and the other was a stupid fellow. Just because I cannot show the mind, I have to use forms. But think of this as a big guy and a small guy, or an intelligent guy and a stupid guy. Decide whichever way. Two extreme cases. They had to cross a bridge, a narrow bridge. The question was, who will cross the bridge first? Now, naturally, the big guy used his strength or his talent or his intelligence to knock the poor guy aside, the thin guy. So the thin guy got very upset and he said, revolution. I need a revolution. I want to change the world where I am not kicked aside like this. So we came up with the idea of an industrial revolution. He managed to get himself a big car. Now, a small guy with a big car is as powerful as a big guy with no car. Now, what happened with the big car? The situation got reversed. Now he could knock the big guy. Now he got the right of first passage through the bridge. So now there is a have and a have not. So then they decided, the poor fat guy, the poor big guy, the poor intelligent guy said, revolution. I want to change the world. This will not do. The solution he got was democracy. We need consensus. Let us decide by consensus who will cross the bridge and who will cross the bridge first. Now, what is the basis of deciding who should come first? So many factors came into being. There was merit, some people said origin, who comes first, economic status, population, legacy, gender, many factors were considered, and they kept arguing. At the end of it, they came to the conclusion that there was a stalemate, because everybody was so intelligent that they all came to a stalemate. Because everybody had a point of view and everybody controlled the situation. So finally they said, we need development. Let's come up with a better idea. And the better idea was, why not cars for both people? Let's just redistribute our wealth and ensure that there's cars for both people. But the problem is the stalemate continued. Who will travel first? Then they said, let's build two bridges. Simple. Tumhara ghar alag hai, mera ghar alag hai, tension nahi. You have your car, I have my car, no tension. So we decided partition, division, break up. And then one voice came up, and the voice was the tree. The tree said, excuse me, every time you build a car, every time you build a road, I am being cut. How many trees will you cut to get the perfect society that you desire, where everybody gets right of first passage? We want a revolution again. All because no one gave the right of first passage. Because someone forgot that humans are basically 99% animals. Everybody wants to dominate. We love dominating. अच्छा लगता है. We want to be powerful. We refuse to be domesticated. We hate being leashed. Everybody wants to do good for India so long as they are sitting on the throne. Everybody wants to help a state so long as they are the chief minister. Everybody thinks their method is better than the other person's method. The fact is, कोई हमाम में सब हरिश्चंद्र नहीं होते. And Harishchandra hota bhi nahi hai. And when you read the story of Harishchandra, the most noble man in Indian scriptures, one little detail is never told, that to save his own son, he sacrificed a poor man's son. अपने बेटे को बचाने के लिए हरिश्चंद्र ने भी किसी का बलि चढ़ाया था. The fact is, some people use their talent and strength to dominate. Somebody uses their tone of voice. Somebody uses elocution capabilities. Somebody uses dramatic capabilities. Some people use wealth. Somebody uses muscle power. But the fact is, essentially, they are dominating. That's what is happening. Different methods are being used to dominate. The fact is, they are dominating. In the scriptures, they say in order to churn wealth, you have to get wealth out of the ocean of milk, you have to churn. The two parties have to churn. Now, what is churning from a physics point of view? From a physics point of view, it means there's the force and a counterforce. When the force is active, the counterforce is inactive. When the counterforce is active, the force is inactive. So you have to let go. You have to let some people do some things. Somewhere along the line, democracy has become a tug of war. Everybody is pulling at the same time, not letting anyone function because we are all imagining perfection. There will never be a perfect leader. There will never be a perfect prime minister. There will never be a perfect chief minister. You will never get perfection in this world. You have to allow people to do, and you have to keep letting it go. The whole idea of churning has been forgotten. We have gone into this cackling state of tug of war. But this too shall pass. This will also go. It reaches an extreme point and then there's a shift. We will what we call revolution. In Indian sages used to call it a wave. वो आता है, जाता है. In the West it is called revolution. The question is, the fundamental question we have to ask ourselves is, can we outgrow this 99% animal inside us? Look at it. Every state says, I am better than the other. Every opposition party says, I am better than the other. मैं अच्छा राजा वो रहे. It's alpha male talking, using different technologies. Now he's using rational mind. Sometimes he was a bully. But the fact is, पशु है. और पशु प्रकृति निकलती नहीं आसानी से. Because we want to win. And that's the thing that I would like to leave about. Democracy and development methods, तो technology तो बहुत आ जाएगा. But जब तक this ability, this desire to outgrow the animal inside us won't go, and this is not part of our education system. ये संस्कार में भी नहीं है. स्कूल में नहीं पढ़ाते, कहीं नहीं पढ़ाते. ये अंदर का जो पशु है, everybody wants to win. Everybody wants to dominate. Everybody wants to control. Nobody is allowing an imperfect king to rule. And that creates a whole bunch of problems. So I thought it is nice to, well, we get charged up by great speeches. It is important to sometimes reflect. कि हो क्या रहा है? Why this desire to dominate? Where does it come from? And this is Indian wisdom. We might call it rubbish and not practical, but this has sustained the country for thousands of years. And it will continue to do so for thousands of years, whether I am present or not. इसीलिए इसको सनातन कहते हैं. So the gods watch while we reflect, and hopefully I have made you think about certain things and your assumptions, and maybe added, not quite charged you up, but at least made you think. Thank you.